So we had a great start for the first day. Everybody started high, cleanly, good altitude, and no penalties on the start today, which was excellent.
On the first leg, Didier Kilo Whiskey took the lead, quite alone, finding good energy lines, especially over Vaumaz, Les Monges, and also catching then the parcours. And he kept this lead until the first turn point.
After the first turn point, Didier took a route more to the north. Everybody else came on Chabrière to the south. Most people took this route and they climbed higher. Only two gliders went with Didier to the north, and they lost quite a lot of altitude because of this.
Then they caught a good thermal on the southwest flank of Pic de Bure, and they climbed up to 2.7, even 3.0, which was the highest point of the task actually. And then they were allowed to fly straight towards the second and even to the third turn point.
So the options to go left or right for this leg didn't seem to be attractive, and most people went pretty much down the middle, just a little bit east of track. They came back together. We can see that the leaders now were Maximilien and Stéphane, and they started to push out ahead and increase the pace a little bit more.
And then they flew quite straight also to the fourth turn point, flying over the Lure mountain, and even not climbing, betting that it will work just in front of them.
And everybody came together in the climb just before the Lure. So the race started again at the top of the Lure all the way to Montdenier. At Montdenier, the 14-15 gliders together. At this point, Mario decided he would break away. And Mario pushed on ahead in the strong lift along the crest of Montdenier. Now we see Kilo Whiskey is appearing.
Mario was high enough to take advantage of Serre de Montdenier, but unfortunately, Kilo Whiskey, who was ahead very low, turned the fourth turn point quite low. I would not be here so low, but he made it, and he had some difficulties, but he recovered then.
So Kilo Whiskey is now pretty much out of the race, because we can see that he's such a low altitude on the fourth turning point that when he turned to come back, it was a real struggle for him.
And while the others climbed enough to take advantage of Serre de Montdenier and fly high, he really lost time there. And then the pilots went to the north on this very strategic leg, and Mario decided not to climb anymore, passing over Ben Mountain, Cousson, La Bigue, and taking the lead.
Mario ran all the way through several good areas of energy, and he then ran on to Alton. But by the time he got there, he was marginal. He was really low to cross over Alton, and the lift was probably not quite strong enough to tempt him to climb at that point. Everybody else was taking more altitude behind, but Mario just pushed himself through with a little bit to spare and flew off and continued on track towards the last turning point.
And he was followed closely by Juliette Golf, Eric Bormann, who decided to take a little bit more margin and who climbed a little bit at Auton, and was much higher on the last turn point.
And everybody else came in quite a lot higher. They stopped to climb on the Bigue, and they had another 200 meters. So they were very comfortable for a final glide when they left Alton. Juliette Golf still needed a little bit more altitude, and now Super Mario, he was falling down a little bit, and he was a bit short of height when he came into the last turn, turning only at 1200 meters. On this leg, it was pretty obvious that if Mario didn't get some energy somewhere, that he was not going to make it high enough.
While the others behind had much safer margin for the finish, and they could even accelerate and catch up with him.
And it stayed like that all the way to the finish. In fact, the first glider to finish was Juliet Golf. We can see that he overtook Mario, who tried to divert off track a little bit to get some altitude, but he was always going to be too low and too slow, and was passed on the glide, with Eric was the first glider finishing. But in fact, he made a mistake on the finish, and on the podium we have Stefan Langer.